Call this Altoona City Council meeting to order for Monday, February 14th at 6 p.m. We'll now have a moment of silent prayer. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Linda, would you take roll call, please?
Councilman Beatty. Here. Councilman Butterbaugh.
Here.
Councilman Carper.
Here.
Councilman Ellis.
Here.
Vice Mayor Ickes.
Here.
Councilman Kelly.
Here.
Mayor Pacifico.
Here. Prior to tonight's meeting, we had an executive session to discuss personnel and real estate. And with that, we'll open the floor for public comment. If anybody would like to address council, you may do so by going to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 5 minutes.
Yeah, my name is Dan Casey, 417 North 12th Avenue. Now with Atlantic Broadband changing corporate name to Breeze Line or something like that. Now, it's still a mystery when you have a problem and you call them people. And just like Dave said a number of years back, you could walk from your house down to the office, to get service, and that shouldn't happen that way. Now, during the pandemic, the office was shut down, and it must be the powers that be over here that, like the city manager there at the time, they forced their hand to open the office up, see? And something's got to be done. I mean, if you have a problem, it's unreal. It probably takes sometimes 10 days before you can get service from them clowns, and you're gonna have to look into that. And it's just a quagmire, and it shouldn't happen. Now with the new corporate change. Now, they already dropped one channel, Channel 39 locally. They dropped it, see. It was just about the time that they switched over, and Channel 39 is primarily sports and things, but they do have other things on there. But that was dropped, and they added another one of them sales channels and everything. They added another, not on Channel 39. Channel 39 has gone away. So, I don't know, I appreciate any feedback or something. We're really at their mercy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, good evening, Mayor Pacifico, Vice Mayor Ickes, and all the rest of you. I'm Gary Dahl, 1031 Poland Avenue, right here in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and pastor of the Faith Baptist Church, and want you folks to know that we do pray for you on a regular basis, and we truly do, and thank the Lord for what you do for us here. I am here just to to make a request. Most of you know Dick Lockard, new Dick Lockard. And, of course, he went home to be with the Lord, a month or two ago now, somewhere around Christmas time. He was a long-lasting, good-standing member of our church, Faith Baptist. And he made a great contribution, I think, to our community. As you know, he was over at the school board for 40 years, 44 years, whatever the case was. And I was over there last Monday and suggested that they name the football field at Mansion Park after Dick. Dr. Murray used to refer to Dick as the mayor of Mansion Park. And so I suggested, name it the Dick Lockard Field at Mansion Park. But I also know that Dick was involved with the Recreation Committee here and Parks and Recreation Committee. And he loved baseball. He grew up playing baseball with a number of different people in our area. And I was just thinking, in honor of what Dick has done to the community, for the community, he loved Altoona, he loved the community, he was truly civic-minded. I was thinking it would be nice if one of the baseball fields in Altoona could be named after him, just in honor for all that he's done for our community. And I know that he played at the one baseball field that is here at the lower end of Mansion Park. I can't remember the name of it. What is it? Down at this end of Mansion Park. What?
Columbia.
Was it
Columbia
Columbia? The
Field.
Columbia Field. He used to tell me stories about that, and I thought, well, maybe somehow his name could be attached to that. But just to honor him for 40-some years of service at the school board, as well as being a good civic-minded citizen of the Altoona area. And I just present that to you, Mayor, and the rest of the council, just to take into consideration. Let's honor a man who has stood strong for Altoona, the school board, and many other things here in our city down through the years. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Pastor.
Thanks.
Any other public comment?
Okay,
Oh, there we go.
okay.
Button, okay, so the green light is on, okay?
Hello, my name is Anna Patterson. Can you hear me? Okay. My son David's going to get my paperwork that I have written out of the things that I came here for. And I just want to tell you, I live on East Crawford Avenue in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And I've lived here for going on 24 years at that residence. And there's several problems that's been happening. And now I have my paperwork, and I will, I'll read it to you. I am a 77-year-old disabled person. I own my own home at East Crawford since 1998. I am a mother of 3 grown children who are respectable and hardworking, 2 with university degrees and 1 deceased. My son moved to this area after retiring 25 years with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. As my children grew up, I taught them to respect the law and also elders. This is not happening to me as an elder by some intimidating neighbors. They oppose the fact that my right to keep to quiet enjoyment of my home. I've been called a psycho, don't like kids, need to move to Homewood, move up the mountain. These parents of children with dirt bikes are being taught to disrespect the law, police, and elders. This is an ongoing problem. I complained numerous times to police over the years. I mean over the years. I told police when it occurs and time. It usually occurs, it's like from 2:00 p.m. till dusk. And it's, in the summertime, it's every day practically. I mean, they're buzzing back and forth and they're really going fast. And I'm not talking about 5 miles an hour. I'm talking at least, I'd say 40 miles at least on East Crawford Avenue. And you see, there's a lot on the top of my street, which is the school property. It's used to be a tennis court years and years and years ago, but now it's a vacant lot. And kids on those dirt bikes congregate there, and they ride around, and then they go back into the woods, and then it's school property. But that's where they go, and then they buzz back down the street. And it's sometimes more than once, it's twice, 3 times a day in the summertime. Now, since the weather's been really cold, I noticed they haven't, and it's been snowy, it has ceased, but it will start again. And like I said, we keep calling, okay? And nothing has changed. And that's my number one problem. My
Mrs.
number
Patterson, do you mean like motorized, like mini bikes,
Yeah, they're
motorcycle
mini
type
bikes.
of thing?
And
Oh,
they go
okay.
fast. They wear the helmet, and they're buzzing. They're juveniles.
Okay.
They're not adults, and probably they don't have insurance or anything, I would imagine, because it's a dirt bike. It's something to be used in the woods on a trail, not on a public road. And that's why I'm here, because I thought, well, I'd be calling the police, but I thought, well, I need to come and express my opinion to you people so you understand this is ongoing and it needs to stop. And I'm not an ogre. All I want is my quiet enjoyment of my home that I live in, with my son. He lives with me and he helps me, and he's sort of my caretaker right now. So I told David, my son, I says, well, we need to go further with this because it's ongoing. And I understand the police have a lot to do and they have a million other things that's really important. But to me, as a mother, and I raised my children to respect the adults and also to respect the law. I mean, I remember about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, how kids congregated in Logan Valley Mall, and they would ride and ride and ride. I don't know if any of you remember this. Maybe somebody was one of them. I don't know. But I remember how they used to be so disruptive and how terrible that was for shoppers, and you didn't want to go to the mall after 9 o'clock because then that's when they would be. Well, these are the same parents that grew up, I guess, and their kids are doing the same thing, only to use dirt bikes now on city streets. Well, it shouldn't be, because this is what's good for Mansion Park. It's good for East Crawford. It's good for, say, Pleasant Valley Boulevard, where there's a lot of residential residences. And I don't know if these kids are from even the street. I knew one was, but he's grown up now. But I don't know if he still rides his bike. And I don't know if they're from town and they come up that street because they know they can do it. I'm not sure. But anyhow, that's my first problem. My second problem is the plows. Okay? The first really bad, heavy, wet snow, it was really bad in front of my property. And when they plowed, they plowed it mostly on my side of the street. And I have the pictures to prove it, because I have Ring. And I even have them on, I should have brought my phone. I could have showed you the actual plow when it was plowing, because and when it was plowing like 7 in the morning. But anyways, the snow was terrifically heavy on my side of the street and piled high. On the other side of the street, they had little snow, nothing hardly. He put it all on my side. And of course, David complained, and they said, well, they can't do anything because the plow only goes one way. But I thought, well, if you go up the street, and you come down it, even if you're pointing the plow, it's going to take care of the snow on both sides, so there's an equal amount of snow instead of, like I said, all that wet, heavy snow on my side of the street. So, and number 3, this is a big one. There's no sidewalk. I have a sidewalk in front of my house. The former residents, who was my aunt and uncle, Formwalt, put the sidewalk in. And when I came to visit him, I said, what do you need a sidewalk for? This is residential. And he says, well, someday somebody's going to come along and make everybody put a sidewalk in for handicapped people. Well, that's when I was fine, you know. I just thought about it, and I thought, well, yeah, someday. But now I live in that house, and I understand it. And maintenance of the berms. There's no berms. Everybody thinks they own clear up to the very, very tippy top of that road, from their grass to the road. And there should be a berm where you can pull off the road and a curb. But there isn't in where I live, okay? And I understand that's probably costly, but, for use, but, you know, I can understand it. But see, my problem is that we pay property taxes just like the people who live in other residential areas of the city. And sometimes I don't feel respected or treated fairly by police because I keep calling and nothing happens. And then, of course, the neighbors that don't like me, and I really don't care, because of my stand, because I feel that it's a wrong thing to do. Actually, it's dangerous. I'd never let my kids, if they were their age, ride on the road with those dirt bikes. They're dangerous. Sometimes they double up. There's two kids on one bike sometimes. And I'm looking, and they're going fast, and I mean fast. And then in summertime, it's really something, because you'll see an old person walking down the street with their dog. You'll see regular kids on regular bikes, which is great. I think that's wonderful exercise for kids to have a bike, okay, and ride it. But I really disagree with dirt bikes, okay? That's my third problem. In my remedy, I put down my remedy, what I think they should do to these parents who have this, not the kids. The kids are only doing it because the parents allow it, okay? I would give the parents a warning first and tell them, your kid is not allowed to ride on the road. You know that. But if they don't, I'd fine them, and then after that, I'd confiscate the bike and make them pay to get it back. I mean, this is something that has been going on, and the only thing that hurts people is when it hurts them in their pocketbook. Okay, remedy number 2, the plow drivers need to be educated on how to even out the snow in residential areas. And my remedy number 3 is speed limit signs need posted and police monitoring of that lot owned by the school district at the end of East Crawford. Every day, police should come up to check at least once a day until the problem can be resolved. And a no trespassing sign should be posted on that lot where dirt bike riders congregate. And the 4th thing, make a dirt bike trail in a wooded area, especially for these biker kids, so they can enjoy their bike off-road, not on East Crawford Avenue and school property. And so that's all I have to say. So I hope you can understand my plight, and I don't think I'm being too too pushy, but I really do believe it's an ongoing problem that needs to be solved. The biggest problem is those kids on bikes, because it's going to warm up, and they're going to be going up and down, you know, and I'm sorry that the neighbors don't like me, because I don't like it, because they may have a child that, I'm not mentioning names, but their child may have a dirt bike, and, you know, and they feel I'm being, shouldn't complain, that I should go in my house. Like I said, when the one told me I needed to go move to Homewood, I thought, hey, I own my home. I deserve to live in it like everybody else. And I deserve to have quiet enjoyment of my home. So, that's where it's at. I already talked to the mayor, I'd say about 3 years ago, about the one neighbor when he told me about Homewood, and another one on the other side that had a party that was really loud, and they wouldn't stop. And I told them to please stop having their music up high, and they wouldn't. So I called the police, and the police came, and they observed them. And then the police told them if they didn't cut it out, they were going to arrest them. Okay? So they cut it out. So that problem stopped with the loud music. That was the renter.
Mrs. Patterson, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to thank you we have to move on with the rest of the meeting. So
Mr. Mayor.
I
There
wanna
you are.
Thank you for,
You met me much before. He's met me before.
yes,
I
we
have
have met.
one thing to say, since I brought her here. I'm the one that has to take on a lot of the responsibilities of that house. And unfortunately,
Mr. Patterson, can you please use the
Sure.
microphone
Sure.
so they can hear you?
I am her caregiver, and I also take care of that property. And, you know, with some of these photos, this is, for instance, what I have to deal with, okay? See this? This is what I have to deal with someone's phone. You see that big boulder? It just melted. See this? I'm tired of having to deal with this on an ongoing basis. Any of you have this in front of your house? You see
Yes.
that?
I do.
I mean, and unfortunately,
Oh,
I've
yeah.
asked them to basically,
Actually, I did have that in front of my house.
okay.
That's unfortunately the
You
way
see
it's
how
done.
big, but you have that size bolt, look at that bolt. That's not little, it's big. And you know, it's ridiculous to do that to somebody. Hey, I'm 54, I'm sorry, I'm 58. And people die of heart attacks every year about that. And tell me you can't shovel correctly on something that's really very basic. I know it might be a joke and a laugh, but I don't think it's fair when you can when the other people don't even have any snow on their property. You know, this is what I do on my day off. I get a day off and I have to deal with this. And also too with the dirt bikes, I called maybe 40 times. I'm tired of calling. Something needs to be done with these people, and they need to be held accountable for. I'm tired of calling and talking to people and saying this is what you need to do, and then having an officer who came into our house last time, this Michael B. Ford Jr., the patrolman. I'm not the one who's committing the crime here. The parents and the children.
The children are children.
They're
don't
juveniles.
like-
They're
they're juveniles.
juveniles
They don't
just
know
like
any
the
better.
parents. And so I'm expressing that because it has to, at some point, stop.
It's not the children. If you have a parent that tells you you're not doing it, it usually works. If
But
you-
I am tired of having to listen to it for hours on end.
So I feel.
And if you think it's not a joke, it's very serious. Because one of these days, someone's going to get killed. Maybe it's an elderly person. Maybe it's someone that's walking their dog. Maybe it's a child. But they're going so fast, they don't care. And so, one of these days, it will happen. And then you'll have a problem, and it's too late. If you prevent it, then it's going to be less advantageous to do something like that. They got enough stuff in this city for them. They have more than I ever had when I was a kid.
Well,
Okay, so that's all I have to say. I know
Thank
you
you.
have other business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to my
You're welcome.
Anytime.
Nice to meet you all. First time I've been here.
Is there any other public comment before we move on to the resolutions? All right, Jeff, did you have anything?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. The alley vacation. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we'll close the floor for public comment and move on to the resolutions.
Item A is approving the minutes of the Altoona City Council meeting held Monday, January 10th, 2022. Item B is approving the memorandum of understanding between the city and AFSCME District Council 83 for the Meet and Discuss group consisting of first-line supervisors covering the period January 1, 2022 through December 31st, 2024, and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item C is approving the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Altoona and AFSCME District Council 83 for the school crossing guards covering the period from January 1, 2022 through December 31st, 2024, and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item D is approving the ABCD Corporation's proposal for the city's American Rescue Plan Act revolving loan fund parameters and authorizing the mayor to serve as the city's representative on the loan review committee. Item E is authorizing the city to enter into the second addendum final to the public-private developers agreement for the mill and for the mayor to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item F is approving an easement agreement between the city and Penelec on a tract of land in Annis Township for the Bellwood Dam, and further authorizing the mayor to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. The next 4 items are for the same individual. The first one is approving a repository bid in the amount of $100 submitted by William Stracer for property located at 531 50th Street. Item I is,
Linda, you skipped G.
I'm sorry, I did, didn't I? It is for the location of 100 to 02 Caroline Avenue. Thank you, Mayor. The second one is item Resolution H, and it is for property located at 531 50th Street. The next Resolution I is for 533 50th Street. And Resolution J is from 535 to 41 50th Street. These are all in the amount of the first one, G, is in the amount of $350, and the others are in the amount of $100. And they are, we are further authorizing the city manager to execute the taxing district form. The next item is item K, and it's approving a repository bid in the amount of $100 by Donald Vogt of 510 North 20th Street for property located at 1318 North 4th Avenue, and further authorizing the city manager to execute the taxing district form. Item L is approving a leasehold mortgage in the amount of $100,000 for the Altoona Area Baseball Association as mortgager, ARC Federal Credit Union as lender, and the City of Altoona as landlord for financing of improvements, including turf fields at the Pleasant Valley location, and further authorizing the mayor to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item M is approving the release and settlement agreement between the city and McCrory's LLC for payment of $112,000 as full and final settlement of all claims of any kind arising out of the declaration of taking filed by the city in the Court of Common Pleas of Blair County with respect to lands located at 1306 to 10 11th Avenue in the city of Altoona. Item N is appointing Mariska Esch of 2812 West Albert Drive to the Zoning Hearing Board to fill the unexpired term of Richard Andrews. Said term shall expire the first Monday of January 2023. Are there any additions, any deletions, or anything that I need to pull for a separate vote? Hearing none. I will call for the consent vote. Councilmember Beatty.
Yes.
Councilmember Butterbaugh.
Yes.
Councilmember Carper.
Yes.
Councilmember Ellis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ickes,
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Pacifico.
Yes.
And the consent vote passes 7-0. We have two ordinances on the agenda. The first one is for introduction. It's an ordinance of the City of Altoona amending the code of the City of Altoona to revise Chapter 633 entitled Street Vacation to vacate a portion of an unnamed alley located between 27th Street and 26th Street in Altoona containing 4,648 square feet in the City of Altoona, Blair County, Pennsylvania, reaffirm Chapter 633 as amended, provide severability and repeal provisions, and provide an effective date. Is there a council member willing to introduce this ordinance?
So moved.
This
Why
ordinance
don't we
was
just do
introduced
this
by
as
the
a governing body,
body.
since we're, there you go. That's good.
And this ordinance will come back to you at the March meeting for adoption.
That's unison right there.
The next ordinance is for adoption was introduced by Councilman Butterbaugh, and it is an ordinance of the City of Altoona amending the code of the City of Altoona to amend Chapter 405 entitled Lease and/or Conveyance of City Lands to authorize conveyance of city-owned land located at 1306 to 10 11th Avenue, Altoona, Pennsylvania, Blair County, to the Altoona Redevelopment Authority for $1. Repeal all other ordinance of parts thereof in conflict therewith, provide severability of provisions, and provide an effective date. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was my second? Councilman Ickes. Okay,
Vice Mayor.
Vice Mayor. Okay, we had a motion for adoption by Councilman Butterbaugh and a second by Vice Mayor Ickes, and I will call the roll for a vote. Councilman Beatty,
Yes.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
Yes.
Councilman Carper,
Yes.
Councilman Ellis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ickes,
Yes.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Pacifico,
Yes.
and the vote passes 7-0.
All right, moving along to the city manager update. Omar?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. First thing I have on the agenda is to introduce our new member of staff. Liz Reindl is our new HR director, right there at the edge of the seating on the other side of the room. Liz has been with us for about a month now. Just,
Welcome to Altoona.
Next item I have is that, just to let you know, the Redevelopment Authority Board is finalizing an RFP for, the McCrory's building. So you've taken action to provide that building to the RA, and they're going to take action to, seek development of it as soon as possible. Also wanted to let you know, you probably already know this, but the American Rescue Plan Act final rule was issued by the U.S. Treasury. I participated in a webinar last week to review some of the specifics of that. Just wanted to let you know that. And at our work session, at the next work session, that'll be one of the discussion items that we have was related to ARPA projects and the Business Revitalization Grant Program. I think we need to talk a little more about that before we finalize it, as we just did with the revolving loan with the ABCD Corporation. Also wanted to point out that we are working painstakingly towards finalizing a personnel policy manual, and I would like to give a tip of the cap to our new HR director for providing some strong content towards finalizing that. So that's all I have.
Awesome, thanks, Omar. All right, moving on to council discussion items. Councilman Kelly?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, two things, and really coming out of the public comment tonight, and I would direct them to our members who are on the Rec Commission. First of all, I think the idea of recognizing Dick Lockhart is a noble one, and I think that considering that the school district and the city are, the Rec Commission, that perhaps that could be something they could work on to look to have something as a tribute to him and his service and interest from many, many years. Secondly, I would add to Mrs. Patterson's comments that there is an issue down there with dirt bikes, because when I looked on Google Maps while she was talking about her address, I mean, that's right above where Logan School is. And I can tell you that I have been down at Logan School and you know I have two kids that have, run cross-country. We've been down there for cross-country meets and have had random kids come flying through on dirt bikes. And imagine when you've got a bunch of kids there and large meets, and you've got that I mean, that could be, we've been real fortunate, but it's happened on more than one occasion. So maybe that's something that the rec commission, might want to talk about with the school district or something. Is there something that, because I can't imagine with that softball field down there at Logan that they haven't had some other problems down there. So maybe you want to raise that at the commission meeting. And I guess, Nate, that's a dead-end street, isn't it? So how do you turn the plow around? I mean, or do you? Do you just go down and?
It's a dead-end street, but it has that property at the end, so they plow in and then back,
Okay.
and then plow back out.
And
It's just a
that
very tight
Zajac
street.
Road or Drive is an unopened it's street, isn't it? It's on. I see it on the. It's like where it goes like right through where those tennis courts.
There's a
used to
little
be.
turnaround.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we go right, I think their house is the second one from the city
Right,
limits.
and so where's the city line there?
I think it's right, like their house is the second one from the city line, and I think it's the next house, and then that's really the city line.
Okay.
So we just kind of use that tennis court area as a
Or
turnaround.
that tennis court area, is that in the township or in the city?
I think it's in the township. I'm 99%
I was
sure
gonna
it's
say
in the
that'd be nice if
township.
the school district would want to see about putting some houses there.
Yeah.
That might solve some of the problems too, frankly.
So that's one of the things. I mean, you plow in, back, and then plow back out. That's
Okay.
difficult.
Okay. That's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Carper,
Nothing further at this time. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Butterball.
No, I would agree with any opportunity we have to collaborate with the rec commission or school board to honor Mr. Lockard. I know he has been a blessing to our community for many years, and I really enjoyed my conversations with him through the years on council, and any time there was opportunity to work together with the school board, he was certainly one of the go-to people, and good idea.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilman Ickes.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of weeks ago, there was an article that ran in the local newspaper regarding the Planning Commission giving the nod for the expansion of the Grand Palazzo. And we have Mr. Jeff Long with us this evening, and we appreciate your commitment to the city of Altoona. I had reached out to Director Brown regarding the article as far as some of the recommendations, obviously this governing body, or I haven't been involved really with some of the requirements that are regarded from a planning standpoint. Does this governing body have the ability to review those? Or, I think when people talk sometimes about it being difficult to do business in the city of Altoona, it's some of these things that we see referenced. So I just wanted to have a conversation on that this evening.
Councilman Ickes, pursuant to the existing code, those types of things are delegated to the combination of the Planning Commission. If there's zoning issues, things of that nature, the code makes it very clear that that's where that goes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
We can rewrite that. I know when I first got on council, about 2 years afterwards, we redid the planning section and got rid of about a quarter of it. So it's probably time to go through
Well,
that
I think
again.
it's just, we have an individual here that's doing, a $70+ million project, and we have the possibility of bus shops over bicycle racks being required and what kind of trees being required for a project to be done. I just think it's a bit, even if we could change it from certain things being required to recommended, I think would be a huge,
Indeed.
a huge step in the right direction.
Well, in follow-up to that, as Councilman Butterbaugh indicated, the governing body, if it seeks to, wishes to discuss and seek to amend the code, it certainly has the authority to undertake that.
Would my peers be interested in discussing that at a work session?
Yes.
Yeah, and ideally, we've been looking for a planning director, and it would, ideally, that would be first thing on the plate, or one of the first things on the plate when that position would be filled, to work with them.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to looking at that, but I think that would be something that we should wait till we have a director in place before we go down that road.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that either. I mean, I think we need to have some continuity in that office for that space to happen. But I definitely think it needs to be a priority for this year. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Ellis?
Thank you. Just want to, again, thank the staff and Omar for setting up the orientations for us, for Ron and I. They were very enlightening, and I appreciate the time that everybody put forward for that. And regarding Dick Lockard, Pastor, I appreciate you coming in. Dick was not only a colleague of mine on the school board, he was also my neighbor, and I considered him a friend. And I appreciate the things you're doing to make sure he's recognized appropriately.
Councilman Beatty?
Yeah, I would just like to say, like with Omar and the city staff, the fire department, the police, Nate, human resources planning, you gave us a very thorough orientation, and we look forward to working with you all. One thing that I think Altoona does need to improve on a little bit is making the business climate a little bit easier to work with and planning for developments. So I think that is one thing that we really need to work on, and give Altoona a positive spin when it comes to people redoing their homes and investing money in businesses in Altoona. I think that's one thing that council would be really wise to pursue. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the media? Bill?
Thank you. Bruce, regarding the dirt bikes on the street, you made a suggestion, I think, that the rec commission might want to look at that in conjunction with the school district. Like, what kind of thing would they possibly do?
I think it would be good to know if they've had any other problems down there, because there are other, it is used for the boys and girls home cross country course. There is a softball field down there in Logan. Now they no longer have a football field because it's where the bus barns are, but I think it'll be worth bringing up at a meeting to see if the school district's had any issues too.
Oh, okay, I was thinking you meant, and correct me if this is all off base, that maybe they would think of doing something as far as creating a dirt bike track for them, dedicated.
You were off base on my suggestions.
Okay.
So, no, I just think it would be good to know. I mean, I know I've seen it on more than one occasion, and it could not only be disruptive, but also, pretty harmful. So, and as a distance runner, you can appreciate that if all of a sudden, you're in a cross-country race and all of a sudden some random dirt bike shows up and starts cutting across the course.
Right.
So, but I think it would be worthwhile raising with the school district to see if they've had any other issues down at Logan. And maybe this is something we need to be working together with the township and because they're going into the township, at that point, and they're probably going on school district property as well.
Mhm.
So I don't know how much the school district owns up on the hill, to be honest.
I think they own a decent bit, but I remember reading articles over the years of them having problems with the fields being tore up and with dirt bikes and motorcycles,
Are they illegal to be driven on the street?
unless they're licensed.
Hey, Bill. This is Joe Merrill. A couple things. Number one,
Oh, Joe,
I'm
hi.
aware of the Oxford Avenue complaints. We respond frequently to the Pattersons' calls. Sometimes people are made contact with, and sometimes they aren't. But I got to be honest with you, that area is not unique. That dirt bike complaints happen everywhere in the city where it butts up against Logan Township and Woods. Juniata coming from Strawberry Flats, 31st Street area, going up on the culvert, East End. So officers respond when they can, for logistical and safety reasons, you know, kids racing around on dirt bikes don't necessarily always lead to a 90-mile-an-hour pursuit. So often they're either gone or, you know, the officers don't chase them. But when they are made contact, yes, it is illegal. You can't have dirt bikes riding on city streets. They don't have insurance. They don't have license, things of that nature.
Joe, what is the, when you do make contact with them, do you write a ticket for the kid that's driving it or riding it?
A couple different options. The circumstances always are going to dictate. There are times where it's appropriate to cite the juvenile. There's times where it is possible to cite the parent in some cases, but not always. And then often, you know, like many juvenile offenses, education and warnings and, you know, a talk with the family members are generally the first route officers try to go.
Thank you, Joe. Next question, the meet and discuss, I guess for Omar, is that is that based on the on any of the actual contracts, or is that done separately?
It's done separately. It's for first line supervisors that are affiliated with the AFSCME union. So most of those employees, I think all of them are in the Public Works Department.
But they're not covered by the contract, by this
No,
collective
they're
bargaining.
in their separate, their own separate agreement.
And it's done entirely independently of the contract. It's not based on the.
Well, yeah, there's a big correlation between what the rank and file members get and what the members of this first line supervisors get.
Okay, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So it's basically like the same kind of increases.
Yes,
generally
very,
speaking.
very close.
Okay. And what about the similar question for the crossing guard people?
Yes.
Is that based on anything, or is that totally independent of anything
That's
else?
totally independent of any other unit, if that's what you're,
Yeah.
yeah, they're not correlated with anything. They're an AFSCME represented group.
And to go back to the first thing, the first line supervisors, the meet and discuss people, are they actually represented by AFSCME in those talks?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Can somebody explain what the nature of the mill agreement is?
Yeah, I got it.
Bill, what this was is originally there was a developer's agreement with that project. And pursuant to the terms of that project, the developer was responsible for certain things. As set forth in this agreement, there were also certain fees by the city which were being, waived in conjunction with certain work. As with any project, things came along, things came up. There was part of the estimate of the fees did not, the amount of fees waived wasn't as big as what was originally envisioned, but there was additional items that the city had to address. So this agreement was basically done to memorialize, to basically make it a wash. Is that a fair statement, Nate? Yeah.
Okay. And does that end the agreement, end the need for the agreement, this one here?
My understanding is the project is, as far as the terms and conditions of the original developer's agreement, it has been fulfilled.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, I'm not sure who to ask, but the Bellwood Dam Easement, is that involved, is that necessary because of the city's ownership of the infrastructure of the water authority now?
That was an easement, I'm thinking, the easement that Penelec came with, said we need this easement. Is that what you're referencing, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously the city's the owner of the property. So that's why if they want an easement, a utility easement like that, they need to come to the city.
Okay.
A lot of the deeds say City of Altoona. They don't say like a water authority, because some of these deeds date back many years. Yeah, many decades. Yeah.
But the city now owns everything, right? That all the infrastructure that the authority operates?
Mhm.
Okay. Regarding the McCrory's payment Tom, is there any way you could explain how you arrived at that? Like what the-
Yeah, the property owner, well, former property owners, they obtained an appraisal of the property. The city obtained its own appraisal. And the number we arrived at was the midpoint between the two appraisals.
Can you say what the two appraisals were?
Yeah, I mean, the city appraisal came in at 90,000. The appraisal by the former property owner was 134,000. So the 112 was the midpoint. So that was just based on history with boards of view and how they work. That was how we ended up there.
Did it ever go to a board of view?
It did not.
Okay.
It did not. The parties, based on those appraisals, entered in negotiations, and the parties came to an agreement at that midway point.
And was it pretty amicable, the discussions?
I guess as amicable as could be. I mean, we, at the end of the day, we came to an agreement without having to go through the formal board of view process, so I would consider that to be successful.
And the ordinance that was adopted today, that's the McCrory's ordinance, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Meeting is adjourned.